Hi, everyone. This is Megan from the DVC Trip Report Podcast. And today I'm really excited. I have a special guest with me, Nick's here from the Diz List podcast. Nick, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Will you just quickly tell everybody all about your podcast and like where they can find you?
Yeah. So my co-host Rob and I started a podcast about a year ago called the Diz List Podcast. And what we do is every week we count down a top 5 of something about Walt Disney World. So whether it be rides or character meet and greets, restaurants, you can find us literally everywhere that you stream podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the things. And then social media at Diz List Pod, pretty much everywhere, including the new threads that's by Instagram. So we're out there.
That's awesome. I'm going to link to all your stuff here for everybody.
Great. Thank you.
Listening to you guys, and I love your show. It's really fun.
Thank you.
Well, tell me your DVC story. Like, how long have you been a member? What made you join?
So my DVC story is probably a little bit different than many others. So I actually had never been to Disney going into 2019. I had never been. My wife had been as a child, but not they weren't a Disney family. We decided we were going to take our one and only trip, right? The famous last words of everybody who goes to Disney. Oh, I'm only doing it once. I'm going to do it big. And we rented DVC at the Polynesian. And once I got there, I realized, okay, this is not a one and done trip. This is definitely going to happen again. And if it's going to happen again, what's a cost-effective way of doing it? And certainly renting DVC points is a cost-effective way, but the renters are making money. So it's kind of like renting an apartment. You're paying somebody else's mortgage, And so I did all the research. And when the market kind of crashed there for a little bit, when COVID first hit, that's when I jumped on it. And I really got lucky because then the market rebounded. So I bought in at the Polynesian. Add-on-itis kind of bit me and I bought another add-on contract at the Polynesian. We've only been members for 3 years or 4 years now. But it's been great and we love it. We wouldn't change it.
Well, it's my home resort. Also, it's a great place.
It is. It's so beautiful.
It is amazing. So how do you use your membership? Like, how often are you guys traveling? Where do you guys live?
So I'm in Western New York. I actually grew up, you're in Saratoga, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
So I grew up north of there, near Plattsburgh. Way up in the northeast corner of the state and moved out here to Western New York, kind of between Buffalo and Rochester. So we don't travel. We're not locals. We can't go every week, we can't go every month. We honestly go every year. Yeah. And what we use our membership for is bigger, more comfortable accommodations. So, we really financially, we wouldn't be able to afford staying in, those size of a room. We'd have to stay in a regular hotel room and possibly not even on property if we're going to go for as long as we do. We also have used it last year. I took a trip down and Rob, my co-host on the Diz List, he came with us and we rented out my points to him so he could stay at the Polynesian as well, which was like a dream resort for him. So
that's so nice. I know. It's so how many you have kids?
I do. I have 2 children. I have an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old.
Yeah. I know those rooms are so nice. I always think about people that have 5 kids.
Yeah.
It's like they have that extra bed that folds down.
Yes. Yeah. And that's nice. That's the thing with the Polynesian is when they have the extra sleep surface, if you have children who are getting to an age where sleeping in the same bed maybe isn't something they're comfortable with, or, my daughter thrashes in her sleep. She's an angry sleeper, I swear. And so she has to have a sleep surface to her own. And so whenever I tell people to look at Disney resorts, I tell them to think about when you're choosing your home resort, pick one that's going to have the right number of sleep surfaces for you. So, I don't think Bay Lake Tower would work well for my family necessarily in a studio, but at Polynesian it does.
Totally. I know that's the same. My kids are 8 and 13 and they don't want to share a bed. So I
Right.
love the rooms that have the extra bed.
Absolutely.
Oh, great. Have you guys stayed at a lot of the resorts or
So
just Bali?
we haven't been to very many yet. We are staying at Bay Lake Tower in a 1-bedroom this actually in a couple weeks. We're going to be leaving to go down. We've stayed at the Poly a couple times, one time rented, one time on our own points. We've stayed at Beach Club, and we've certainly visited the other resorts to kind of get a vibe and get a, where do we want to stay. So we haven't stayed there at everywhere yet, but we're planning on it.
No, we haven't been to Beach Club yet. My kids are dying to stay there. So that's cool.
Oh, I will tell you, it's worth the splurge also. And I tell people this when I'm talking to them about Beach Club: splurge for the cabana for a day. Take a day off, sit in the cabana. It's amazing. You have your own cast member coming in and bringing drinks or food if you order it. There's a cooler or a beverage cooler in there that has water and soft drinks already in it. There's a fruit plate that comes with it. You have a television and a speaker. It's amazing. It's right on the zero entry near the beach part of the pool. It's a great place.
Oh my gosh, I'm putting that on my list. I didn't even know they had that as you could do.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing.
That sounds awesome. So what do you think is your favorite resort so far? Is it Polynesian or do you think...
I love the Polynesian because it's old school Disney feel. And I know that some people feel like, it can be a little run down and they don't like the fact that you're outside walking from the longhouses to the main lobby. That doesn't bother me. And the DVC rooms are the furthest away from that main lobby. And some people complain about that, but they're also the closest to the TTC. And, I can walk out and walk to the TTC. The views from those Lakeview rooms, I don't know that there's a better, other than the bungalows, I don't know there's a better fireworks view on property. I really don't. Even if you think about Bay Lake Tower, the theme park view, because they're not straight on, the perspective is a little bit different. So I think that those Lakeview rooms are just absolutely amazing. So Poly is definitely my favorite, and that's why we own there.
Yeah, it's so great. I know I want to go back there. We've only been once and we own there, but we have stayed at Animal Kingdom a lot.
Yeah, we're looking forward to making a stay or making a stop at Animal Kingdom, not this year, but next year. Like most DVC people, I've got like the spreadsheets figured out, where, how far out I need to book points and bank points and where I can stay. So
yes, I know. You're going to love it, I think.
Yeah, my children both love animals, so it's going to be great.
Do you think you'll go to Alani at some point?
So currently one of the restrictions I had when I purchased DVC was my wife loves to travel. I had not really been a traveling person. I had not been bitten by that bug. And so one of the things that I was told was, if we're buying DVC, you are going to take us to Hawaii.
Oh.
So we are planning on going to Alani probably in 2025, I think is what the timeline looks like, as far as when would be best for our children's ages and with sports schedules and all that stuff. So
I know it. It's a long flight from where we live out there.
Yeah, it is. I'm thinking about possibly doing a stay over in LA, doing Disneyland and DCA, then going. So kind of breaking up the trip. I do have some friends and family in the Los Angeles area, so that would be a good trip.
That would be so fun. Have you ever been to Disneyland?
I have not. My wife has just one day. Actually, Rob had just made his first trip out there. We talked about it on the podcast a couple of times. He had never been. So I have not been. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I'd like to do that sometime. I like that idea of making a stop to break up the
Absolutely.
trip.
Yeah.
I know. How about the other beach resorts like Hilton Head or Vero Beach? Do you think you'll ever go there?
So I could see myself doing, I could definitely see myself doing Vero Beach. If we ever do a cruise, I could see myself kind of doing like a shorter cruise and then a beach stay. Hilton Head, I'm not sold on completely, just looking at it in general. I think that Vero Beach, you could easily do parks for part of your trip and then also jump over and do a beach stay. So
Yes.
that's kind of why I'm thinking that would be the one I would lean toward if I was going to do one.
The first DVC trip we took, we stayed at Animal Kingdom, and I talked to the DVC like person in the lobby, and he told me that what you need to do is after your Disney trip, do a few days at Vero Beach to relax because
Yeah, because you need a
you're-
vacation from a Disney vacation. Let's be honest.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So what is your how do you guys normally do Disney? Because this is what I'm always curious with other DVC members, since you're going back. Like when do you hit the ground running and go like park open to park close? Are you more relaxed? Like how much do you plan?
Right. So we've kind of done both, right? The first trip we took as members, we were with my mother, and I wanted to make sure that she saw everything. We took her for her 60th birthday, and it was like this big thing. I wanted her to see it all, do it all. But it's certainly, knowing that you're going back makes it a little bit easier to take if you don't get to do it all. Last year we were with Rob and his family, and we certainly did some marathon days, but it was a little bit more relaxed again. This year, while we've done a lot of planning, and we've got a lot of cool things, on our plan and on our calendar for that trip, they are not the kinds of things that we would do if we weren't members, because we're doing stuff like behind the seeds that takes an hour. We're doing stuff like the caring for the rhinos, or up close to the rhinos over at Animal Kingdom. So I think it does change how we vacation. We are not marathon people anymore, and we're not going to run around and do that. We're able to relax and sit in the garden in England, or go walk through the shops in World Showcase.
Feel the same way. Like we like to do a little break in the afternoon and go to the pool for a while, but
Yeah, it's a lot easier to do that, right? And because you're going to be back, you don't have that pressure.
That's right. Do you guys plan a lot before your trip, or do you keep it more loose?
So I think my wife's favorite part of a Disney trip is the Disney planning. So we definitely do planning. 60 days away from your Disney trip should be a national holiday. If you ask my wife, we shouldn't have to go to work on those days, because you have to get up. You've got to make sure you have your reservations. But after that, we're not like planning out, we're going to do this, and this. I mean, Disney's made it harder, right? Because we have to have our park reservations, but there's something to be said about Genie Plus not being like it used to be, where you're planning your fast passes. Like, you don't know what ride you're going to want to ride at what time of day. So we're not like that anymore. And I think it's freeing. It really is.
Yeah. So do you like the Genie Plus?
I'm torn. So I like it when it works. I like it when I can take advantage of it. I think it's also something that people get taken advantage of really easily, thinking that they know what to do. And it's like the old fast pass system. And you have to know what you're doing to be successful with it. And, for someone like me who, I'm hosting a Disney podcast, I do a lot of that research. I know what's going on, but then I think about all the people who don't, because I have days where I struggle to figure it out and to do things on that app. So I like it, but I think it's not always worth it. It's not worth it for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. There's been a lot of unhappy people about the Genie Plus.
Yeah. I really don't like the new change with the tiered park each day. So that change, I think, is makes it too complicated or overcomplicated. It's another way to squeeze out some more money. Somebody was like, look, you can spend less money. Animal Kingdom is only $15 today. I said, only $15. Well, that's what it used to cost.
Right.
So they found a way to make you not feel bad about paying what they actually wanted to charge.
Well, that's a good point. I know that's what it started out at, right? And then
Yeah.
So the trip you have coming up, like, what's your plan?
So we are going to be there for 8 days. 8 nights, I should say. And we're staying, like I said, at Bay Lake Tower. I don't know how we pulled it off. We got a standard view at 7 months, which is not easy to do. And I didn't even have to wait list it. So when I saw that, because we originally were going to be going to Animal Kingdom, but when I saw that there was availability at Bay Lake, 1 bedroom, there's like only 6 of them, I think, that are standard view.
I didn't
So
know
we
that.
we
Wow.
yeah, we snagged that, and then we're gonna go down. We're planning on hitting up the Food and Wine Festival. We're really excited to do that again. So we're spending, I think, 3 days at Epcot is what our park pass reservations are, but we did get hoppers. So, at Bay Lake Tower, you can come home, you walk across the street, and there you are, you're at Magic Kingdom. So, I'm really excited because we're going to be doing some cool things, like I mentioned, like the behind the scenes tour and the carrying or up close to the rhinos over at Animal Kingdom. So, a lot of special things coming up.
That sounds fun. How about, will you ride Tron?
I will. I'm a little skeptical about the comfort of that particular ride. Just because that being crouched over that bike, I'm worried that it's gonna and I have like bigger legs. And so I'm worried about the way that ride system will work with my calves, because it's not even about like you being overweight or whatever. It's about the size of your thighs, or not thighs, calves, which is just bizarre to me, but I get it. I mean, it's a safety issue. If I have to ride in the back, I will.
I'm wondering if it's going to be scary, just like being forward like that, you know?
I mean, everybody I've talked to that's been on it loved it and said they would gladly pay for it. I don't know that I would pay for a ride that's that short, but to each his own, I guess.
I'm anxious to hear what you think about that.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll cover it on the podcast for sure.
Yes, I'll be tuning in to listen.
Yeah.
Do you guys have certain things that you'd like to do every trip, like any traditions?
So I would say that one thing we like to do is we always want to try a new table service restaurant. So um, my kids are pretty adventurous eaters. They're not super picky. I mean, there are certainly things that they won't eat, but they're not super picky by any means. So we try to do a big meal. This time we've got a couple. We're doing Citricos and we're doing Narcoossee's, so that's gonna be great. I'm really excited for that. So that's one tradition. I would say that we always try to make sure that we're experiencing all the modes of transportation, because I think Disney transportation, with the exception of the buses, it does it right. So we love the monorail, we love the Skyliner, and just kind of relaxing.
It's so fun. I love that. What are some of your favorite places? Citricos is one of our favorite restaurants.
So my favorite place that I've eaten at Disney is Topolino's Terrace. That dinner is absolutely remarkable. I don't know that I've had a better dinner in a restaurant ever. I mean, it was that good. The cast member that took care of us was amazing. The sommelier picked great wine. They were really accommodating to the kids. My son, wanted his, filet mignon cooked a certain way, which was, not something that at that time, I think he was 9-year-old is going to ask. And they were great. So Topolino's is probably my favorite place. Via Napoli is one that if we're not there during Food and Wine, we have to stop at Via Napoli. Food and Wine changes our Epcot style of eating because you're snacking all day. But I would say that if we're not there during Food and Wine, you got to do that. So those are probably my two big ones. I'm not a fan, even though I'm a Poly owner, I'm not a fan of the food at Poly. Kona Cafe is probably my worst meal I've ever had on Disney property. This last time was really, really awful experience. Ohana is good, but they rush you.
Yes, I found that too. We haven't been to Topolino. Now, are there characters for dinner or just breakfast?
Just for breakfast. We're doing the character breakfast this year. We got an early reservation so that way we can still make it in for rope drop for World Showcase.
Nice.
But yeah, the breakfast I've heard is amazing too, and that's the one with the characters and those very unique artist type outfits. So I'm really excited for that too.
Looks good. I know it. I'm glad to know about the dinner there. We love Via Napoli too. That's my son's like must do on every trip.
Yeah, I mean, if it weren't for Food and Wine, that would be something we would have to do every trip. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nice. What tips do you have for anyone like thinking about DVC or just using DVC? Do you have any?
So whenever anybody asks me about DVC and asks me what I think or what they should do, my first tip to them is to really do a deep dive and just, your family better than anybody else. So just because the poly is great for me doesn't mean the poly is great for you. And just because the number of points I have, it works for my family, doesn't mean it'll work for yours, or maybe you need half of what I have. So do the research. And I would say also ask somebody who's good with numbers to really run what that cost actually is. I teach math, so for me, it wasn't a big task for me to set it up and figure out what the price per point really was, like when you break it out over the length of the contract and what the projected dues would be. So I would say do your research. And then the other thing is, there's two schools of thought: stay where you want to, or buy where you want to stay, or buy where you wouldn't mind staying. And I'm from the former, not the latter. I know every year I'm going to be able to stay at the Polynesian. And if something else comes up at 7 months that I want to stay at, then I can go jump there. But I'm never going to be disappointed staying at the Polynesian. Now, if you're somebody who buys at Saratoga Springs or you buy at Old Key West, that's fine if you really want to stay there. But because you may end up having to stay there, especially if you go in high demand times. And DVC high demand times are way different than regular high demand times. So I think for me, the two main tips is do your research, and then also to buy where you want to stay.
Yeah, I think that's good. We have a trip coming up. It's like a last minute thing. We're going to go for a couple nights in August, but I booked, the only thing I could book was Saratoga had some rooms. We've never stayed there because we live in Saratoga, so it's never appealed to me to do you know what I mean?
Oh, I do, because I mean, that was one of the things. I almost bought an add-on contract at Saratoga, and I'm like, I grew up like 2 hours north. I don't know that I want to go, it's not going to feel like Saratoga because it's going to be surface of the sun hot.
Yes.
Right. So, I'm not sure that I want to own there, but I have to tell you, those new rooms look amazing.
Yes. Well, I have a few friends that own there and they love it, like swear by it. It's their favorite resort. So I'm excited to check it out. But
yeah. And if you get certain buildings too, you have that accessibility to Disney Springs. I could see myself wanting to stay there, especially when my kids are older and we might be doing like a split Disney / Universal, because then you could do, you don't feel so bad not being right in the mix if you're doing one of those splits like that.
That's true. That's a good point. Have you guys ever done that? Like when you've been on your trip, gone out of the Disney bubble?
Yeah. No, we don't usually venture outside the bubble. Although I would like to be able to one time at least go down and just kind of, drive around Orlando. There's so much to see in Orlando beyond the Disney bubble. And they do a good job of keeping you locked in there. I think they made a big mistake doing away with the Magical Express, not because it was free, but because now people have a choice, right? If I rent a car, I can now go off property a lot easier, and food is a lot cheaper off property. And sometimes many times it's a lot better. So I think that we haven't done it yet, but we will.
That's a really good point. I didn't even think about that. I really miss the Magical Express. I thought that was such a fun way to start your vacation,
not have to worry about your luggage. Your luggage was waiting for you in your room. I mean, come on. How great was that?
Best. I know.
Yeah.
So good. I know that's true though. I never want to leave the Disney bubble though. One time we went to Universal because my son was really into Harry Potter. And that was cool, but it definitely didn't feel like that same Disney feeling.
No, I think that particular land, like anytime they do anything Harry Potter, and I suspect it'll be like that with the Nintendo stuff too. It's so immersive, but the rest of the park, I don't find it to be that. Like when you're walking through Islands of Adventure, I don't find it to be other than the Harry Potter portion. I don't find it to be immersive.
Yeah, no, I know. It felt like just bring me back to Disney.
Yeah, it felt like you were going well, for you, just about 40 minutes north to Great Escape.
That's right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone else feels like this. I worry a little that my kids will go through a phase of not wanting to go to Disney. Do you ever feel like that would happen in your house?
I don't worry about it so much. But it might happen. I don't think it will. Both of my children really love Disney. My son is at an age where I think if he were going to end up deciding, that I'm going to be the cool kid, not into Disney, because that's just for kids. I feel like he would have already sort of started down that path a little bit. And I look over at so Rob's kids are just a few years older than mine. So it's like kind of like a preview, a glimpse into my future. So when I look at the way his kids have reacted to Disney, I think that it's all about, what you're doing. If we make it like a go, they could get, teenagers want to be able to sleep in sometimes. So I think that being a DVC member makes it easier to make it a relaxed thing.
That's a good point. I know the sleeping in. Good point. I know. And there is so much, someone was just chatting with me about this subject, and they were saying how a lot of the newer rides are more thrill rides, there's definitely a lot.
They're doing a better job. They're doing a better job of trying to reach that demographic, I believe. And I think that you're going to see more of those. They just announced the Jollywood Nights, for instance. So they added another holiday party. I don't think we're that far off from them doing something Halloween wise over at Hollywood Studios that is a little bit closer to the Horror Nights over at Universal. I don't think they'll go full on into that, but I do think something more teen appropriate. If you look at what they do on the cruise lines and how they capture the teen audience there, I think that Disney knows what they're doing, and I think they're gonna work on that part of the demographic for sure.
That's a good point. Have you guys ever done a cruise?
We have not. I know a lot of people that have and love them. I know that Disney apparently is the top, I guess, of cruising. I think there's a few others that people would go back and forth with. But we haven't. We would love to do one. I'd love to do an Alaskan cruise. One of those northern ones. So yeah, we haven't done one yet, but we would like to.
At some point, yeah. I know. Oh, there's so much to do. You have to keep coming back.
I know.
When you bought your add-on-itis contract, was it resale?
Both of my contracts are actually resale. So I'm not a direct owner. I'm one of those second-class citizens.
No. There's all these theories about how to do it,
Yeah, for me, so they both are resale. I'll be perfectly honest, I am considering buying direct right now just because of the ridiculous incentives at Grand Floridian right now. You can get into the Grand Floridian, with the Magical Beginnings offering and all the other stuff for like $166 a point, which is amazing. Really steeply discounted at, Disney's flagship property. So I've considered that, but I'm fingers crossed waiting for Poly 2 and hoping that when that opens up, maybe that will be where we add on direct.
No, do you think that with Poly, that new building is going to be part of the points that do you know what I mean? Will it be separate?
Yeah. So I don't think that I can't possibly predict what Disney's going to do because Disney they always end up surprising me. But I hope that it's in the same association. Yeah. I think, when you look back at when they opened Poly and they said, we understand there's no 1 bedrooms or 2 bedrooms, but we're working on it. Well, nothing ever happened other than the bungalows, which I don't know. I know what my point budget is. I don't know about yours, but I am not staying at a bungalow. Like half a night in a bungalow would wake me out of points right away. So that would be problematic. But I hope it's in the same association. But I could see them going Copper Creek, Boulder Ridge on us and splitting up the associations as well.
It'll be interesting to see. I'm like dying to know what's gonna. I keep hoping they'll leak it somehow. But no, that's great. Is there anything else? Any other tips you have, or?
Oh, well, as far as traveling to Disney, we have, Rob and I talk about this stuff all the time when we're giving our, when we're doing our podcast, we'll talk about tips. I would say my number one tip outside of DVC is the right footwear. There's a recent episode where Rob talked about making a mistake when he went over to Disneyland. He brought out some, Air Jordans, and it wasn't a smart move. And he ended up having to throw out some shoes and buy some new shoes because he had blisters that were so bad. So I think, that, and then also I would say, and this is something that everybody should think about whenever they're traveling, is think about what your expectations are and kind of pump the brakes a little bit. It's not going to be perfect. It's okay that stuff's going to go wrong. Genie Plus isn't a genie. They're not just going to give you your wishes. And so, just kind of go with the flow. One of our good friends, Rob from Ear Scouts, he does a lot of stuff with Genie Plus, and he always calls it the Genie slots, where he's playing a game on his phone. And when you change that mentality of, it's not giving me what I want, it's giving me a prize for opening up this app. When you think of it that way, it really can help you relax and kind of take the edge off a little bit.
I think those are really good tips. I know, so important about the footwear.
Absolutely. And the weather, right? And making sure you're bringing stuff to curb the weather, as far as it's going to rain at 4:00. I mean, I just got an alert on my phone because I've already had my Orlando stuff set. It's like, oh, lightning strike 10 miles away. And it was Orlando, of course, wasn't here, but you got to be aware of all those things too.
Yes, that's a good point. Do you guys usually travel you're going in August? Are you going?
We're going the last week of July, so we're leaving July 29th, and we'll be there through the first week of August. Correct.
Do you normally tend to travel then?
As teachers, we have to go in the summer, or I guess we could go over holiday breaks, but the crowds can be just so ridiculous that we try to avoid them. The heat can be a lot in the summer, but it is what it is, and you deal with it. Our use year is June, so it's usually when I'm planning the trip, it's July or August, and it'll be early August. I coach soccer, so I have to be back here by the middle of August anyway, and kids are involved in sports, so there's really kind of a short time window where you can go.
Yeah, we usually do the summer also, and it totally works with the schedule, but I would like to go sometime for the holidays. I feel like that would be fun.
Yeah, I would love to do a shorter trip and just go even for a 4-day weekend, or maybe around Thanksgiving time, because I want to see those decorations, and another thing is I want to do the Festival of Holidays over at Epcot. So
it looks so fun. I know.
Absolutely.
Are you able to catch the Halloween stuff?
So we won't be this time, but we have been there before for it. So we did the one year it was Boo Bash. We did that. So it wasn't the party. It was 2021 when they had reopened, and they did, instead of doing the actual Mickey's Not So Scary, they did Boo Bash, which I thought was fantastic. It was well worth the money, in my opinion. I know some people complain, well, it was more expensive and there were less offerings than the party. I didn't feel that, but I had never been to a party, so I guess I don't know that. So I have been able to do that, and the decorations are amazing. The pumpkins, you walk in one day and all of a sudden it's decorated for Halloween.
We did that Boo Bash too. I felt exactly the same, because we hadn't been to the other party either, but we loved it.
It was great. We were there the first night, so it was kind of hectic. It was pretty packed because it was the first night. There were a lot of influencers and YouTubers and stuff there, but it was great.
That's awesome. That was so fun. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
No, I hope
Thank
you
you.
have a good trip. Can't wait to hear about
thank you.
the podcast.
Yeah, we will definitely be doing some recap shows.
Thank you. And I'll see you on your podcast soon.
Yes, absolutely. Maybe we'll see you on property. I don't know. Maybe we'll run into each other down there. Who knows?
I know, that would be great at the Polynesian.
Yes, absolutely. First round's on me at Tambu Lounge.
That's good. I'll take you up on it. I'll get the next one.
All right, great.
Have a good summer, Nick.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.